The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
What time is it?
I am the face that runs the place.
You need Roman to be out of the main title picture for a little while. You give him a break. This is the only way you're possibly going to get the crowd to do anything but boo him, is give him a break.
I'm the greatest wrestler in the world.
It was exciting to see because it kind of reminded me of Reading Rainbow a little bit.
All they needed was LeVar Burton to come in there.
This would have definitely got a 5-star pay-per-view for me.
Show of the year.
Yeah, show of the year.
I will be entering the Royal Rumble. And after I win, I will return to the main event at WrestleMania. And if anyone, and I mean anyone, stands in my way, they will rest in peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling to the mat.
And your hosts, Gary Vaughn, Sean Garmer, and Paul Leeser.
Welcome, everybody, to Wrestling to the Max, episode 229, part 1. And tonight we've got a great show for you guys. We're going to be talking about that UK tournament that WWE is going to be having. They'll be holding that actually this Saturday. So we're looking forward to that. We'll be talking about who's involved in this bracket and what's going to be, out there to look forward to in it. Plus, we're also going to be jumping to some interesting stuff with Kenny Omega. That's right. Is he taking a break or isn't he? I don't know. We'll get into that, plus some other great wrestling news that you're not going to want to miss. Plus, we're also getting into some Ring of Honor talk. That's why we had Ring of Honor TV this week, and it had some actual cool stuff, too, to get into. So you don't want to miss a minute of this show. We appreciate everybody coming and check us out. Also, once again, if you haven't subscribed to the W2M Network, go do that. It gives you a lot of great content. I don't know what you're waiting for if you haven't already. Plus, don't forget W2Mnet.com, one of the greatest sites out there. If you love checking out wrestling reviews, if you like reading things about wrestling in general, go check out that website, along with some video game stuff if you're into gaming as well. So, trust me, it's worth your time. I'm your host, Gary Vaughn, and of course with me is Mr. Sean Garmer.
What's going on, everybody?
And Paul Leeser.
Heyo.
Guys, we've got lots of wrestling content to talk about, but I've got to talk about some other things. Of course, we've got a lot of great things going on with our network and things like that. We do sports and we do all sorts of wrestling on this network, but I'll just mention this real quick. Me and Sean did a show we'd love to do, Football at the Max, and we talked about the national championship game for college football, which was a blast to watch. And of course, if you listen to our Raw review, you'll get a chance to hear us kind of talk about it a little bit too, because of the fact that we were kind of having to split our attention. I'm in a kind of a good mood because of that. That was a lot of fun to watch, so that put me in a better mood tonight. Congratulations to Clemson for pulling out a great victory against Alabama. It's a tough team to beat, trust me. And of course, Sean, it's nice to get one of those because I think at the beginning of that game, we were both sitting there thinking, I'm just going to have to watch Raw because the rest of this game is going to suck. It ended up being pretty good, and it gave Raw a run for their money.
Yes, they certainly lived up to the billing. It was a rematch of last year's National Championship game, and they completely surpassed the amazing game they had last year. So, don't know how you. I mean, I know people aren't really big on rewatching sports games after they've already aired, but man, this was certainly one to go back and watch again. I mean, you had a defensive battle all the way up to the fourth quarter. Alabama was going to run away with it at first, and then Clemson closed the gap and eventually miraculously wins with like a second left. Wow.
Yeah, it was really good. And it was one of those games you're just thinking you're lucky stars that, you got a chance to watch it, because I know I miss sometimes the best games, and so I was so happy I was able to be home and get a chance to check it out. And of course, splitting my time wasn't easy with Raw, but at least I got a chance to watch that game. So if you're a Clemson fan, you are out of your shoes happy tonight. If you're an Alabama fan, you're sitting there still thinking to yourself, how did I lose? How did our team lose this game? And of course, next week, on the, episode 230, part 1, you'll hear me and Sean either be really happy or really depressed because our Dallas Cowboys will be taking on the Packers. So that's another sports game. We'll be focusing on this next weekend. But anyway, enough about sports. Paul, I mean, there's, I'm sure lots of things going on with you. For me personally right now, I've got a situation where my wife is already pulling on me to go on another cruise, Paul. Another one. I just got off a cruise, it seems like, a month ago. It was more than that, but it just felt like it. She's asking me. She's even sending my daughter over to me asking me to go. She's like, Father, can we go on another cruise, please? And I'm like, oh, man.
Wow, even an English accent, too.
Yeah, she's been watching too much Jack Gallagher. But anyway.
Lily's really matured.
Yeah. At 3 years old, she's already picking up on it. But yeah, so I'm already getting pulled in that direction. How are things going with you, though, Paul?
Just buy a boat for Amanda, take her out on the water. Say it's close enough, right?
I don't know, man. I've been hearing too many boating accidents, so I'm a little bit nervous about doing that. I'm not exactly the best sailor in the world. Of course, that would free up time on this podcast, So, or just make extra room for someone else. But anyway, yeah, that's what's going on with me. It's gonna be kind of interesting if we do take that cruise. It'll be the same time as we did this year, so no surprises. But guys, we got plenty of wrestling to talk about. So why don't we go ahead and jump into it with some quick hits? And, of course, once again, thank you all for coming to check us out tonight. We will be having lots of great shows this week. Don't miss a minute of them. We're going to have, of course, our show reviews. We're ready to do the Monday Night Raw review. Tomorrow we'll be doing the SmackDown Live review. You'll have a 205 Live review and an NXT review this week as well. So lots of great stuff to get into. So don't miss the show. But now we're going to jump into some quick hits.
Let's do this thing. Oh.
It's time for
Clearly, Spreaker hates our drops.
Yeah, Spreaker.
It certainly does.
So, I guess we're live again.
Yeah, we're live again. Because I don't know what's going on. I'm going to have to probably re-put this in here or something.
Yeah, we apologize. Our drops have just been jacking around with us lately. And, you don't need the music to get into wrestling news. Let's go ahead and talk about Kenny Omega. I mean, we just saw this big, amazing show called Wrestle Kingdom 11 this past weekend. And we were all talking about it, especially Paul and Sean, who just really got into it, did their own review show about it. Kenny Omega was a major part of that, but now he's tweeting out that he may not be around for a little bit here. Now, I don't know how you guys feel about it, if you feel like there are certain reasons for it, or if it's just a rumor or what, but I'm really kind of curious how you feel about it. Paul, what's your thoughts on all this?
I won't say from the beginning, but at least in the last couple of days, this certainly feels like we're all being worked, right? Like, he's going to step away. He doesn't work Fantasticmania. New Beginnings, a little surprising. But I once the Wrestle Kingdom show finished, we got a New Year's Dash, I already felt like he was sort of slated to win the New Japan Cup. And either get that rematch or maybe face Suzuki, because Minoru Suzuki obviously looks like the next challenger for Okada after that New Year's Dash show. But I think they're doing a masterful job of working us over. But I'll eat a hat if he shows up in the Rumble, like Twitter says.
Well, it'd almost be impossible for him to show up in the Rumble because his contract either expires January 31st of 2017 or it's January 31st, 2018. So either way, he couldn't be in the Rumble unless somehow he just, I don't know, he doesn't care. He doesn't think New Japan will come after him for a, breach of contract or whatever, which...
and especially after last year, I'm sure Kadani in New Japan is super wary of guys leaving at this time to jump over to WWE.
Yeah, I just can't imagine they let him sign a one-year deal last year, knowing that they were going to push him this hard. I'd imagine he has to have a 2-year deal. Now, perhaps he does have this option that Dave Meltzer and Mike Johnson from PW Insider and various others have talked about. I just cannot imagine, unless it's one of these options where they both have to actually agree, and it's not one where, like you see in sports, where it's all on the team, if the team wants to take the option, then I don't know. But it's just, listen, we didn't talk about this on the podcast, but there were several interviews leading up to Wrestle Kingdom where he did everything but light WWE on fire as far as talk about how he did not want to be there. He wants to be the guy. He wanted to be the next Sting, until Sting eventually came over there, where he got a bigger name out of being the guy that never showed up in WWE. He called their title absolute shit. Everything you can possibly think of, he said terribly about WWE. Yeah, I'm sure all that's it's part of my character and whatever, but and then he did everything to praise New Japan as well. I just cannot imagine this guy becomes another one of those people that is just totally all about the money and goes to WWE. If he's really talking about, I want to do all these great things for New Japan, it just seems weird to back off on that now. I don't know if, just playing along with the thought here, if losing, perhaps he was promised to win at some point at Wrestle Kingdom and he didn't, and perhaps that makes him a little bit weary of, is he ever going to get to that top spot or not? But I just can't imagine this guy being there as long as he's been there. He's going to turn now.
Yeah, especially with him right on the precipice of walking through the door of being one of those top 3 or 4 guys that New Japan has sort of had at the top for the last couple of years, where you at least have a Gaijin up there like an AJ Styles or Carl Anderson. And that match with Okada, he's a star, no doubt about it now, right? That match has changed the game as far as what Meltzer is rating and caused a whole bunch of shit on the internet for that. And people will not shut up about that match for probably the rest of the year. There's 2% chance he leaves. And the only thing I could think of is maybe he works Ring of Honor up until whatever. Because,
yeah, but he has those visa problems.
Oh, does he? Okay.
Yeah. He has those visa problems where he can't work in the U.S., so, WWE could obviously probably take care of those for him. But I don't know that he could even work ROH if he even cares about getting those visa problems fixed, because, does he really care to work in the U.S.? That's...
Well, if he's going to work those G1 shows in July, probably better get those fixed.
Yeah, he does. But he's got a while till July, so...
maybe that's why he's stepping away to take care of. We don't know. We have zero clue. But it seems so unlikely for him to leave.
Right.
Yeah, Kenny Omega, such a great talent. It would be a really sad day. And if he ever does leave, it will be a sad day for him to leave New Japan. But I think he's invested so much into the company and just everything that's gone into building his character up and working with some just excellent talents over these years. I mean, this has been a lot of fun. So I just think that, he's going to do, some other things, but right now you're just not going to see him. And that's fine. Sometimes it takes, stepping away to get better, to get people even more intrigued in what you're doing. So I don't have a problem with it, and I think it's going to be really exciting. I think when he finally does get back in the ring, and whoever he faces, I'm sure will be a big deal. So it's going to be kind of neat. I'm kind of curious how they're going to work this thing. Talking about cross-promotional work, you guys were kind of talking about Ring of Honor New Japan. TNA may be doing the same thing because of the fact that they're planning on doing a show WrestleMania week. And that could also include them having to find another promotion to kind of, tie up with here. What do you think, Sean? I mean, I think this is cool. I think TNA definitely needs something like this, and working with another promotion is probably a really intelligent thing, especially during WrestleMania week.
I'm glad that that TNA has now realized that they are a glorified indie. So now they've officially accepted that. So just wanted to throw that out there.
It's true, though.
If you're working WrestleMania weekend, you are now subservient to WWE. And you have national TV, supposedly. I'm joking here, but look, they're being smart. You got to try to make money anywhere you can. If you're TNA, you're probably going to be... And you got to think about all these international people that come, and, TNA is a known name, or if they keep that name, because there's still thought about whether they're going to get rid of that name or not. And, I think it's a good idea. I wonder if I'm somebody, TNA's the last place I'm going to be going to for a show. But perhaps there's going to be those TNA fans that are going to want to go and they can fill the building. And I'm sure they'll find enough fans to fill those buildings.
I'll say this. I've been to both the Slammiversaries they did here in Dallas. I enjoyed myself immensely at both shows. So, I got no problem with TNA doing this. I'm really just curious who they think they could partner up with that wouldn't feel like either a step down or what have you, So, I'd be interested to see how this develops. They definitely should. They're missing out on money. Any promotion, I think, is missing out on money if they're not a part of WrestleCon or the WWN Live experience, or if TNA even spawns off into something here. You're losing money.
I think also, the Young Bucks have said that they are going to show up for something involving the Hardys. I wonder if, ROH would partner with them and make a big TNA ROH mega show or something.
I mean, ROH runs Supercard of Honor that weekend. So if TNA wants to go run their Orlando, I think they're running the Orlando Convention Center or something like that. More power to them.
Yeah, definitely. And, I think TNA has to make these kind of business decisions, especially if they do want to make some waves, continue on, and get themselves in the position for people to want to go see more of their shows. And, Paul just told you he enjoyed his experience, and there's some people that just are not going to take the time to go out of their way and either go to Orlando or find other ways to go to TNA shows. And, people are going to be at WrestleMania anyway, so they'll take the opportunity to go see random wrestling shows. And TNA, I'm sure, will be maybe a bucket list thing for somebody, or maybe they just want to go check it out because they've never seen it live. And they may get sold on the product immediately. They may really like what they saw. They may just think, man, this is really cool. I want to watch this every week. And that's what your goal is. Your goal is to reach that wrestling fan that, you've never had a good experience with, or maybe someone who's new to your product. And so that's positive, and that's why this is such a smart move for TNA. And at the end of the day, their new logo, to me, sucks. But hopefully,
Oh, God, that logo is terrible.
Oh.
It's an obvious ripoff of Rush. And, yeah. Now, I've heard people say it looks like a Pokemon.
I couldn't even tell what kind of bird it was the first time I saw it. I don't know if it was an owl or some wonky looking phoenix.
I also think it's really pretentious for Anthem to have their name on the bottom. Like, are you just that... okay, I will say this. It does make it different to where, okay, you understand that we're under new management. But, I don't know. It's like that construction sign where you get the under new management. It's like, okay, did you really want to be that obvious about it?
Maybe they do.
Yeah.
It's so tacky, but
yeah, it is.
Whatever. You know, that's something new for TNA. You know, if you could say one thing about them, it's tacky.
You know, how could you say that when people are wearing the Dixieland shirts? But anyway. Well, at least...
Hey, more power to you if you are.
Yeah. Hey, if you really liked it, then that's fine. But anyway, you know, that's what's going on with TNA right now, and I think it's cool. Like I said, I think this is important for them to do something like this to kind of, you know, keep their brand going and, of course, keep their brand in the eye of the wrestling fan. Let's also jump into something else that's really cool going on right now. Let's talk about that UK tournament that's coming up for WWE. It's exciting. I think there's some names on this list of, you know, wrestlers that I think people, you know, are really excited about. We do know the bracket, though. And, Paul, I mean, maybe you can run down some of this bracket and kind of give us some insight on some of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, they've sort of shuffled some stuff around here. So on one side of the bracket, you got Tyler Bate, one half of Mustache Mountain, taking on Tucker. Jordan Devlin against Danny Burch. Danny Burch, of course, is Martin Stone. Trent Seven, the other half of Mustache Mountain, taking on H.C. Dyer. Wolfgang, the current Insane Championship Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, taking on Tyson T-Bone. The other bracket, Mark Andrews, of course, formerly of TNA, taking on Don Maloney. James Drake and Joseph Connors, who Joseph Connors has become a very large star over there, not only for ICW, for a couple other promotions as well. Pete Dunne, the current, or Pete Dunne, however you want to pronounce it, the Bruiserweight, current Progress World Champion right now, against Roy Johnson, and then Saxon Huxley and Sam Gradwell. I think they set this tournament up much like they did the Cruiserweight Classic. I think the winner is pretty obvious to pick out of the first round. Tyler Bate, Danny Burch, maybe, or, you know, Jordan Devlin or Danny Burch, I guess could go either way. Trent Seven, of course, I think going over there. Wolfgang, Mandrews, Joseph Connors, Pete Dunne. After that, I think you sort of get into a crapshoot of who they really just want to crown. I honestly have my money on Trent Seven. He's a great wrestler. I think he can work great standalone. But Wolfgang very much fits their model of what WWE likes in Superstar, especially the higher up guys. So I think this could really go either way. It should be a great tournament. I'm really looking forward to it. The crowd in England's always great. They're doing it out in Blackpool too, so I'd tune in and just be excited.
Yeah, and Sean, that happens this Saturday. I think I'm trying to think. Is it 3 p.m. Eastern? I believe
Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, Saturday and Sunday.
It's gonna be awesome. You know, I think it's going to be, you know, one of those events that you're not going to want to miss. And Sean, I mean, I know you may be more familiar with some of these guys than I am, but it's just going to be fun because, like the Cruiserweights, there's lots of guys that we saw in the Cruiserweight division that I just didn't know a lot about. And once I saw them, I mean, I kind of got hooked on a few of these guys. Kind of like Jack Gallagher. I didn't know much about him. How excited are you to see some of these guys and get to know them more?
Well, especially if, you know, they really are going to go through with the whole, we're going to do a UK show based on these guys. I'm going to totally be down with that because we're going to get to see them more often. So I'm going to see, this is my first glimpse at watching any of these guys. So I'm going to be happy to get to see them. And then, you know, when we get to see them on the WWE UK show, we'll know more about them at that point.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what's going to be thrilling, just to get a chance to sit down this weekend and just understand what's going to be happening in the future with WWE, and that includes these guys. So look forward to that. Definitely don't miss it. Enzo Amore is injured again. And this is a bummer because, you know, it seems like he just got out of an injury when he had that concussion. But now he's going to be out for at least a couple more weeks. And, you know, that means that it's going to be a lot of Kaz and just him once again kind of sitting around. This is a bummer, man. Enzo just cannot seem to keep healthy. And I don't know if you guys have any concerns about it, but it makes me worry because we know with WB, if you're not, a guy that can stay healthy, they start thinking about maybe replacing you.
For me, I think this eventually ends with them maybe transitioning Enzo out of wrestling. He's not a great wrestler by any stretch of the imagination. I think he works a babyface well. He can sell well. I think there's a lot more opportunity for him to be a manager, though. He's a great talker. Cass can wrestle. He's not a great talker. They sort of complete the package, which is why they'll probably always be a tag team together. But if they ever do want to leapfrog them to a singles thing, Enzo as a manager for Big Cass and maybe a couple other people could certainly work out either as face or heel.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've all said this various times here that Enzo as a wrestler, long-term value of that's not very high. His value is being a hype man, being a manager, being a guy that, I'm sure he'll probably get turned into a comedy guy after a while. Once they decide to cut Cass loose from him, which I'm sure that'll happen. And, it's sad for Enzo, but at his size and everything, that's always going to be a hurdle, And, and if he keeps getting hurt, it's not going to help him either.
No, it's not. Not at one bit. And that's just my worry, that they're going to see him as being a guy that they're just going to have to replace because they can't keep him around just to sit around. So I think, Paul makes a good point here. As a manager, he could do so much. He could give them an opportunity if they needed to use him to do that because he does have the experience in the ring. But for the most part, maybe try to keep him away from it. And I think, in the end, Kaz is going to be a singles wrestler. I think that's just their goal eventually down the line. So it may be smarter for him to start thinking about that future, at least, from our perspective, So let's do some rapid hits real quick. We've got a couple of things we want to real quickly jump into. I don't know if, many of our listeners remember, but we did talk about a young man by the name of, this is his wrestling name, Drax Shadow. He was a young kid who was sick, and he was a big fan of Stardust, and of course WWE went out and they signed him for a contract for WWE. It was like probably a day contract. I cannot remember the exact details. But this young man was really cool. They had a whole video package on him, and it was just a great story. But he recently passed away, and it's really amazing to see when WWE works with these kids and people that are just really ill and do things for them. But it's just such a tough thing when they pass away because, there's that bonding of the wrestlers and, of course, some of the people behind the scenes.
They're also super young, too. Like, he was 9.
Wow.
That's rough.
Yes.
It's fucking terrible.
It is. But the cool thing is he got an action figure. The cool thing is that he got a chance to live his dream, even if it, was very short. WB offered him that opportunity, Sean, and, it's just so cool. And I think sometimes we kind of underestimate these things. We see WB working with kids, and we're just like, okay, another charity thing, let's move on. And you don't really realize the impact that they're making. And I think I kind of shortchange them, honestly. I kind of like, okay, that's what. But that meant so much to that family, and they're thinking about that even more because those memories will always be there. And that action figure that they made for him will always be there, and it's such a cool thing.
Oh, yeah.
So, let's jump into one last thing really quickly here with Rapid Hits. WB has already bumped up and bumped back their pre-sale for the Hall of Fame. So you can go get your tickets, Ticketmaster. This is really cool, especially if you're planning on going to WrestleMania. So, just that's a word out there. If you want to go get your tickets, you make sure you do it quickly because I'm sure the good seats will sell out. And, of course, the whole event will probably sell out before you know it. So if you plan to be at WrestleMania 33, go check it out. But that's it for our quick hits, guys. We've, got a lot of great stuff coming this week, I'm sure. But until then, we'll move on to our next segment, which is Ring of Honor. That's right. Ring of Honor TV had a really interesting episode this week, so we're going to jump into that right now.
Give me a second. I can't even... Yeah, we're just going to have to go on.
All right, let's go cold, Paul. Let's just jump into this thing feet first.
Do it. So we have they recap Christopher Daniels winning the first match in the Decade of Excellence tournament against Mark Briscoe, quote unquote, last week, even though technically it was last year now, because they've been off doing recap stuff for the last 2 weeks. He then cuts a great promo about how he's one of the forefathers of Ring of Honor, and he always sort of promised to be the guy, the Ring of Honor World Champion. He's never done it, and he comes back and says that there isn't an expiration date on Destiny, and after he wins the tournament, he will finally fulfill the prophecy he made so long ago, which if you're a longtime Ring of Honor fan like I am, there's a tie-in there to the opening stable he made way back in 2002. I really dug this promo. I kind of hope he wins the whole thing and the title. I think that would be great. Daniels isn't going anywhere. He just re-signed recently. He's different from everybody else they've established. And I just love the idea. Even if it's not very long, even if it's only 2-3 months, having Daniels on that title, I think would be awesome.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I don't think you could go wrong with Christopher Daniels. I mean, he's just a proven talent. He's a veteran. He gives you a great representative, and, I think it would be just an awesome situation for him, even if it is short-lived. But I don't know if they're going to do that. I think this is a good promo, though. It definitely gives you something, at least a little bit of excitement to see that could be a possibility.
Absolutely. And let's just jump into these other. They have 2 more Decade for Excellence matches here. The opening one is B.J. Whitmer taking on Jay Briscoe. I wasn't overly into this match. I whether it's BJ or just the match itself, but they didn't really do anything to draw me in overly much. I enjoyed the finish, though. I thought that was pretty good. And what happens is BJ hits the exploder. He gets a near fall. Sullivan tells him not to really worry about winning the match, hands him the golden spike. He's about to hit him. Mark Briscoe comes in to distract him, runs through the ring, dives through the ropes to hit a plancha on Punishment Martinez. Jay recovers, nails the Jay Driller, wins the match 1-2-3.
Yeah, this is a fun match to watch because of the fact that you have the interference and all of that, and the Briscoe brothers are always entertaining. I think this is a pretty okay match, though. I enjoyed it. I thought it was had some moments to be exciting. The first of it was kind of slow, to be honest with you. It wasn't much to it, but by the end, I mean, you get the spike and all that, and you're just thinking, oh, here it comes, until, of course, you get a Mark involved in this thing. So I thought it was fun. I didn't have any qualms with it.
Yes. And after the match, too, BJ grabs the mic and says that somebody has to be sacrificed. So it looks like they're going to build up something there with the Briscoes. I was sort of interested in what they were going to do with these guys with Carino being gone. That whole story is now gone kaput. Maybe for the best, because they dilly-dallied around with that for the longest time. So I'm not thrilled, though. BJ, without all that element in there, it just seems very flat, and for them to have to go back and start at square one, I don't know.
I agree with you, because you lose a piece of the puzzle, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like driving a car with only 3 wheels, and you're just like, this is, I guess it could be drivable, but it's not very smart and doesn't really look good, and it's just, not practical, and that's the way this feels. I think that they really need to either just find a way to get rid of this whole gimmick and just get Whitmer on his own way again, or have him and Martinez just really purely do something that's really great. I don't know if they're going to do this. I think to a point, this is a little bit of a silly gimmick. To me, it is. And I get it. It's been done before. They've kind of had the creep factor, but I don't know. I'm just not overly invested I don't know if I should feel bad about that, Paul, but just really honestly, and I love Punisher Martinez, but I'm just not overly invested in this.
Yeah, I think the big thing to take away from what they're doing here is that you don't have any closure to any of that, so you don't have a great launching pad for these guys to move away from. And I think BJ and Punishment they need tag teams, and I think keeping them together is the right idea. I just don't know if throwing them in with the Briscoes is exactly what you want to go with. Granted, they are two guys that are well established and can also work a very similar style. So if they ever do want to get into using the spike and whatever else, those guys are going to be more than up for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, let's just go ahead and talk. The main event is the second one where Colt Cabana takes on Chris Sabin. Colt's got a new slower theme song, sort of like his older one, just heelish now, which is great. I like this one from the word go. They draw you in pretty well. Colt Cabana, I love his heel shtick. I think he's so the chin lock, which he holds in for way too long, but he's having too much fun jaw jacking with the fans and running them down. He got a good rise out of me, and then that hip attack he hit on him too was just absolutely brutal. But I enjoyed this. So, Sabin gets the win. I'm sorry. Colt Cabana ends up getting distracted by the boys. Yeah, who apparently him and Dalton Castle are not done yet. So
yeah, and that's a good thing. I think that that feud definitely doesn't need to be forgotten about. So as much as we would probably like to see Colt Cabana move on, it's okay. Chris Sabin can do it, and let Colt Cabana stay around and do his thing with Dalton Castle. But at the end of the day, I mean, these two guys, put on a good match, and it was fun to watch. And despite the ending, I think it all worked out the way it needed to work out. It was kind of fun. I more and more I watch Colt Cabana, and I can learn some of the intricacies that he has and the comedy that he kind of splashes in here and there when he can. Ring of Honor is not really his comedy bit type of match, but he does try to add it at points, and so you can kind of see a little nods to comedy here and there. But I just love to see old gimmick these guys going. It doesn't match what you hear or see from the past from Colt Cabana, so that's what's thrilling to me too. He's doing such a good job as doing what you said, Paul, playing that heel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Briscoe will move on to face the winner of the Jay Lethal Jushin Thunder Liger match. Sabin will face Daniels in the semifinals. So that's all the Decade of Excellence stuff out of the way. Earlier on in the evening, you have Silas Young and the Beer City Bruiser team up to take on the team of Alex Reynolds and John Silver. And I really thought this was going to be a squash, but they actually let Reynolds and Silver get a good run here. So much so that I was kind of interested in seeing more from them. They work very well together, and I think their offense and everything sort of fits in with Ring of Honor, and especially, like I said, they need tag teams. These guys might be able to be a great little babyface thing in the run of what the CNC Express used to be back in the day with Cedric and Caprice Coleman, or even in what you have in Cheeseburger and Will Ferrara, maybe just treated a little bit more legitimately because one of them's not named Cheeseburger. So in the end, though, this goes the way you think with Silas Young and Beer City Bruiser getting the win after they pretty much run poor Silver over, and then Beer City Bruiser drops a bonsai drop on him, which is awesome. Moving right along after that, they have a promo. They've targeted the 6-man titles. Silas thinks he's finally found somebody, and they bring out Bull James, Bull Dempsey, of course. Bruiser wants to know why, and Silas says, he's a real man. He can take a beating, and he can hang with him in a beer drinking contest, and that's really all he's looking for. But he looks at the Bruiser for maybe a little bit too long a time and says, you know what I'm thinking, right? He isn't the guy. So they put a beat down on him, and then Bruiser crushes Bull with that awesome frog splash that he can do. This seemed like a whole long way to go for a short drink of water. I don't know. I felt like there might have been a better way to set this up, but maybe not. I don't know.
I kind of agree with you on this. I mean, you get a good match from the before, which you pointed out, and I'm totally on point with you on that. Kind of surprised they did that. I was expecting a big squash Didn't get it. I'm okay with it. These two guys really know how to work their magic, and as much as I don't know much about their opponents, I felt like that they proved some things to me. But for Bull to be that guy, and for us to sit there and believe it is, and the time it took for that to all end was just was not a good timing. It was a little long, and at the end of the day, I don't know how many people loved it. I thought it was fine. I thought it was, kind of interesting. I love the fact that you did get Bull being teased as being that next guy for this group, and then, just getting the crap kicked out of him in the next minute. So I've kind of appreciated that. I thought that was interesting, and I really liked the way they present this to an extent. It's not great. It's nothing grand, but I do like it. And, the feud with Bull will be cool whenever they get down to it. So I'm not trying to rhyme either, by the way. Bull, cool. Sorry, I'm just about to drool. But
oh boy,
man, just imagine I'm gonna become a rapper by the end of the night.
One too many there, Gary. One too many.
You're right. But I don't know. Bull Dempsey on Ring of Honor is kind of neat. I'm sorry. I just it was so fun to watch him at least walk out. If nothing else was great, that was great.
Bull is what he is. I think he's a fine wrestler. I'm going to be interested to see how they work him into Ring of Honor and all that, because they certainly do need some talent now that you have guys leaving, and maybe more so as the year progresses. But this didn't seem like a great setup for me, honestly.
What did you not like, though? Did you just don't like the Bull part of it? What?
I don't have a problem with Bull James at all in this. I have a problem with how they sort of set up this whole thing. Where, and I'm sure this is just going to work out to where they were just out to make Bull James look silly, right? But the way they sort of said it, it just seems really contrived. Like, we're going to bring you out, we're going to talk you up, and then we're going to beat you down. Like, that, I don't know. Maybe it's just because it came out of nowhere, and maybe because I just wasn't a fan of how they went about doing it, but it just didn't really click with me.
Maybe so. What probably did click with me was the familiarity with Bull. Because I used to watch Bull James on NXT. I have a background with him. I think if it was just some random dude I didn't know, I think I may be on board with you. And I think I just kind of have a little bit more invested with Bull James. And that's okay. I mean, to each his own. I don't know if I'm going to love it if it's a long feud, or if it's even a feud at all, like you just said. I mean, maybe this is just a way just to beat down Bull James, and then they're going to move on, and he's going to move on his own way. But I kind of would love to see a match between him and Bull City Bruiser. The Beer City Bruiser.
I'm sure this will end with James finding a tag team partner or whatever, but it's, like I said, it's whatever. I'm willing to give it a chance. The setup is very contrived. And then not the last thing, the new 6-man tag team world champs come out. The Kingdom, Matt Taven, TK O'Ryan, and Vinny Marcelli. They have a match with Cheeseburger, Will Ferrara, and Joey Daddy Go, and with Cheeseburger on the other side. You know how this is going. It's a short little, maybe 6-minute match. The Kingdom look good. The faces get their stuff in. That's really all there is to it.
Yeah, nothing super special about this, and you get what you get, but. I mean, the Kingdom need to look good. They did that. That's what's important here. So, yeah.
And then maybe the biggest thing from this show, they highlight the Broken Matt Hardy promo video that they showed at Final Battle after the Young Bucks retained the tag team titles against the Briscoes. That place erupted when that video showed too. It's insane.
It was awesome.
Absolutely insane. And then the Bucks, they come out to the ring on the show for a promo. They talk about their contract deal and how it's the biggest in company history, which gets a chant from the crowd that says "Thanks for staying," which I chuckled at. And then they talk about their big win at Final Battle and the Broken Matt Hardy video. That pretty much they aren't going anywhere, and whenever Matt and them shows up, they're going to delete them back. It's not a great promo by any stretch of the imagination, but the lights go out, in flies Vanguard 1. And the Bucks super kick the hell out of it. It's pretty great in that respect, but the promo is absolutely nothing.
Yeah, this was something really cool. I really thought, the way the Young Bucks did everything in this because of the fact that, they kind of poked fun at the Hardys, and of course the Vanguard one thing was hilarious. I just thought that was kind of funny, the super kick on it.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day they did their job. I mean, there's not a whole lot to this, to be honest. I mean, they kind of get their little spiel out there, but they don't give away too much, and that's okay. Right. They don't need to give away too much, but just to see the way the crowd overreacts when the whole Matt Hardy thing, and of course they're giving you this piece of the pie. It leaves you wanting more, and that's really positive. Because Ring of Honor has some good stuff, but not all of it has you wanting more. And this is definitely one of those things, and so I'm completely happy with it.
Well, I guess we'll go with this. Yay or nay, Gary? The Young Bucks end up super kicking Maxwell during the match.
Oh my God! I just peed a little. Yes. I'm gonna say nay because I could imagine the internet blowing up and the child abuse people would be after them like crazy. But yes, I could just imagine it, but it's not going to happen. And if it does, wow, I'll be blown away. The PC police I know will be watching, so be careful, guys. Be very, very careful.
That's Ring of Honor.
Alrighty. Well, that is, of course, also our show for tonight. We want to tell everyone out there, please go check out W2Mnet.com. That is a great site. You don't want to miss anything. Plenty of written reviews and different things like articles and all the great things that you want to come and find for the world of wrestling. Go to W2Mnet.com and find it. Also, video games are a part of that as well. Lots of great reviews. If you're looking for a game to buy and you don't know much about it, go check out the site. It's going to give you some great information on those games. Also, go and subscribe to the W2M Network. Plus, hey, while you're at that, why don't you go ahead and join the Facebook group, Wrestling to the Max. That's right. We've got a great group already. Lots of great people on there chatting and giving all their information and all their opinions. And, of course, keeping you updated with everything in the world of wrestling. So please go join that as well. Lots of great stuff, guys. We appreciate you once again for coming and checking us out tonight. Sean, do we need to tell the people anything else before we get out of here?
There was, go, I don't know, on the rest of the network, just check it out at this point. I'm sorry, it's 4 a.m. Out of my mind, it's not.
It's fine. It's fine. Just make sure that we don't forget anything, because, sometimes we have a little piece of information or a podcast.
Oh, our top 50 matches of 2016 should be rolling out starting tomorrow. Now that I've gotten the guys to find me pictures of some of the lesser known matches that don't have networks I can screen grab things from. And also the top 25 games 2016 should start rolling out starting tomorrow too. So, yeah.
Lots of great content. So once again, go check it out, people. But yeah, that's our show. So for myself, Sean, and Paul, if you're not living life to the max,
not living life at all.
You know it.
Please.
Later.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.